Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, there is one reason why we invited you tonight. And I thank you very much for coming, all of you. The one reason is very clear. This world is under fire. Our Europe is under fire. Our people are threatened about their future, the future of their kids, the future of their grandchildren. And who, if not Social Democrats, should give answers, should pave the way for solutions for a better tomorrow? This is the heritage of Social Democrats. We tamed capitalism 150 years long. We shaped the modern social welfare state. And now where our societies are in major crisis, it's again us to profile the proposals on which we would like to discuss. This is the start off, but this is not the end. Social Democrats, my group of the European Parliament, always stands ready. All Democrats, all pro-Europeans are invited today, tomorrow, and the day after. We will continue this discourse that is going to start today. I very much thank wonderful Luca Cazzeli, Paul Nerup Rasmussen for having given guidance, intellectual and political guidance, to our Sustainable Equality Report. 100 bold and very concrete proposals are ready to be transformed into politics in the next mandate of the European Parliament, in the next mandate of the European Commission. This is what we would like to outline. We would like to invite for the political discourse of the future, and this night is ready for our public discourse. We would like to give you a socialist roadmap for a social revolution that takes care and that takes as a compass the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, a new path for Europe, for a progressive and for a better future. Yes, we did this exercise already in Lisbon, in Madrid, and in Milano, today in Athens, and we couldn't decide on a better place than Athens for this discourse. Of course, we know how much Greek people suffered in the recent years. Yes, you were taken into a mess for a couple of reasons, domestic ones, but also very often international ones. And let me be completely clear, as a social democrat in Europe, what conservatives and neoliberals did with the Troika was irresponsible. The neoliberal ideology that was obliged to the countries in the South were producing bureaucratic monsters. They brought hardship over the Greek people, over the Portuguese people, and elsewhere. And we cannot count the individual tragedies that policy has caused. I'm a German, fellow countryman of Mr. Schäuble, but I never was shying away from fully criticizing this irresponsible politics, which did not encourage people to solve their problems, but rather was out for punishment. And my dear friends, this is the politics of social democrats in Europe. It should never, ever happen again. not where we take responsibility. It was not basically the wrongdoing of the people in Greece. It was a situation where the Troika construction got out of control, out of democratic control, and no parliament of this world was able to stop them finally. The Greek people managed to overcome enormous difficulties in the past. In tough times, you have proven to be real fighters. Yes, and this is the spirit I would wish for all of us in Europe. We shall overcome, and we have to pave the way for a new, modern, sustainable Europe. But let me also be serious about what it really needs. If we analyze the tragedies of the past, yes, we have to say greed and unjustified privileges have to be tackled wherever we find them. Whether that is on European level, whether that is on national level, or whether that is in our municipalities. A clientelistic power is always only for the happy few, and it is also always an obstacle to the happiness of the many. So we have to reform also our nation states, the shape of our institutions. We have to reform the European Union to fully live up to the demands of today and tomorrow. That means the rich and the super rich have to pay taxes everywhere in Europe, but also here in Greece. If we want to have a good health care, if we want to have good education, if we have to flourishing municipalities, everybody, of course also the big companies, have to shoulder their responsibilities and to contribute to the public good. This is our politics in the European Parliament, and that should also be the politics of progressives in our member states, dear friends. The fight for a more fair and just society is always a fight on all political levels, in Europe, in the member states, as well as also in the regions. I am personally very relieved by the fact that the Greek people are still pro-Europeans and overwhelmingly want to see Greece within the European Union. This is an asset, and this is the product of a fight, and I'm very grateful to the Greek society that they still stick to the European Union. We Europeans are all in the same boat, and by acting together, we can weather any storm that is threatening us. That means also that we are passionate about Europe. My Europe is not the Europe of Wolfgang Schäuble and the Europe of Manfred Weber. It's not the Europe of the Troika. We have to overcome neoliberal ideologies if Europe is going to survive tomorrow. Our Europe has to be a Europe of solidarity. That applies, for instance, for the regions. No region should be left behind. All our regions, wherever in the European Union, have capacity that can be developed to the best benefit of its citizens. This is why we, as one of our central points in our program of the 110 bold proposals, say, yes, regional politics is very important to us. Each and every region has to become an area of excellence where we are looking for good jobs and adequate education and prospects for wealth for everybody. Our Europe has to give modern answers to the well-being of its citizens. We have to change economic dogmata. The Stability and Growth Pact cannot be the only guidance in a modern world. we have to think together, economy, labor, environment, and the social dimension. Look at what happens in France. Yes, we need to have this environmental transformation, but it cannot be the ordinary people alone that shoulder all the costs of that if we cut the taxes of the rich. This is a mistake by Mr. Macron, and I'm pretty sure that he has learned his lesson already, and he is out to correct that. We have to have top administrations in our member states to serve the interests of the people. We have to have excellent public services. And if I'm talking about excellent public services, if I'm talking about top administration of highest quality, dear friends, please believe me, I'm not talking about the north of Europe. If you would like to find falsifications, go to the United Kingdom and use public transport. Then you see what the result of radical privatization can be. It's not an advantage. I'm talking about Athens. Look what Athens is doing. Look what a bold mayor in Athens, Mr. Kaminis, has been doing here in your capital. This is of excellence in public administration, and not by accident he was rewarded the Innovation Prize of European capitals. You can be proud of that. You can be proud of that, because you have yourself increased best examples of how you can manage, of how you can do it. And we need more of these good examples everywhere in Europe. My Europe is a Europe where we tackle climate change, where we do not see all these false examples, false results to our people. I went to Marti in the last September. I saw the disaster. We have to do something about it, and we cannot just stay idle without any action in a crucial situation where this is to become the major challenge of our days. You see the young people in the streets of Europe. We can be proud of them. On Fridays, they show us what they expect from our heritage and what we have to do to safeguard their future. So let us be active. Let us be active on that. Greece can be part of a progressive solution. Where else would you find wind, water, sun in huge amounts to prepare us for this revolution of the renewables? And Mr. Papandreou started already in his days with new programs, and there is very much energy increase. There is no reason that Greece and other countries of the south are going bankrupt because of the oil bill of third countries. No, you can do it yourself, and we only need to lead the young people, the engineers of today and tomorrow, so that you have a flourishing economy and a flourishing, protected environment. Our Europe has to be a Europe that protects. One of the main chapters of our promises is speaking about the fight against poverty, the fight against child poverty especially. And we would like to halve that within the next 5 years. We have to provide our children with the basic needs. It is totally irresponsible if children go to school hungry. It is totally irresponsible if their parents do not know how they can provide heating in the winters. It's totally irresponsible if the families do not have proper housing. Let us do something about it, because the children deserve it. It's the asset of our societies. If we do not care about our children, how irresponsible are we in our rich societies in Europe? This is our goal number one for the next years to fight for. And of course, we need good education for the next generation. Otherwise, we cannot really shoulder the challenges ahead of us. There's a lot of radicalization in Europe, not always towards the right end. Always when social welfare states do not deliver, always when Europe does not deliver, the right-wing extremists go out to sell us the solutions of the past. Hatred, xenophobia talk, nationalism, trying to get one nation against the other, and from famous Mitterrand we know nationalism at the very end means war. So I'm grateful to the fact that Greece also helped forward. I know this is on dispute, but from a European point of view, I'm grateful for the fact that the Greek nation helps to stabilize peace in Europe. This is an achievement on which we can build, and this is an achievement which is recognized within the European Union. We should not play with people's fears. We have to be the progressives, and the progressives are the force of hope. Let me be optimistic. We see the dangers, but we see also the signals of hope. Look at those countries where civic rights are under threat. Poland, for instance. But the old saying tells us where the danger is, the increasing danger, there is also growing hope. We have partners in Poland, old partners and new partners, who try to change the page. Look at somebody like Robert Biedron, a very bold mayor with a young movement, Spring. He calls it Spring. And we have partners from our sister parties that are also fighting our cause. There is hope in countries like Poland. Look at Hungary, where a right-wing prime minister, Mr. Weber, where are you, will listen to you. PPE, where are you, will listen to you. Viktor Orban is urbanizing the conservative family all over Europe. But there is hope, my dear friends, there is hope. If you look, trade unionists taking the streets, fighting against what they call the slave law, which is undermining their rights as trade unionists, their rights as workforce. There is hope. There is hope. And seeing that, let us turn to the Mediterranean. And let me ask the following question. If we have problems in Africa, growing problems in the Arab nations, seeing the crisis in sub-Saharan Africa, if we have problems in Turkey, because differently to what we wish, Turkey is turning its back on Europe. If we have situations constantly, the Middle East under crisis, if we have a situation where more and more cleavages in the neighborhoods of the Mediterranean come into existence, why can't we Europeans not set out a vision? A vision that has to do something with the heritage of our great nations in Italy, in Spain, in Portugal, in Greece, and elsewhere. You were the places to found European culture. You were the ancient places where cultures met, where religions met, and where the universities very early were discussing about what could be a good society. The philosophers were contributing to the ideas of how can we live in peace and how can we get along with different beliefs in diversity, but all together longing for the better future of tomorrow. Why don't we invest in the great south of Europe to make this south excellent places to meet again, so that the Mediterranean is not anymore the cold grave of so many thousands of refugees, but an excellent point to meet up to create our common future. That has to be the program of the future, my dear friends. This is the concrete vision we should offer to the young people in Greece and to the young people in other countries. This is what we can do. We have the capacity to do, and this is what we have to promise to our societies, to make the lives of people better, to commit our agendas for a better future, and to transform our economic and social model towards the necessities of today. That means power to the people. Power to the people. Our politics is power to the people. And all progressives should be invited to develop strategies to empower our communities, our municipalities. Let me finalize by one personal experience I was glad enough to make today. I went with two wonderful people to a small market in the middle of Athens today in a social NGO called Borome. Borome with two wonderful people, Anna and Alex, both Greek citizens having given up well-paid jobs in politics, well-paid jobs in the media, committing themselves to collecting food for the poorest of their fellow citizens, going to the markets, to the farmers, collecting food and doing it a very efficient way, providing it immediately to the places where it is needed. Yes, I hope very much that the time will come up very soon where initiatives like that are not necessary anymore, not in Greece and not elsewhere. But if you see, and I was so much impressed by this NGO, by the young people, and I was so much impressed by the generosity of the market people, by the generosity of the farmers, outstanding, giving with full hands to those in need. If this is the strength in civic society, I would only congratulate my good comrade Miltos Kirkos that he has proposed this initiative to become, to get the reward of European Citizens' Prize of the European Parliament. This was an excellent, Miltos, this was an excellent initiative and they deserve it. But let me conclude by saying, if your society is full of great people like that, if your society has the strength to provide energy for solidarity on the ground, in the local communities, we, the politicians, have to do our job. And we, the politicians, have to organize the framework for politics that is progressive and that eases the pain in our societies and paves the way for our better future for everybody. Not only for the happy few, but for everybody. Thanks for your attention.